how are you?
Yeah, doing great. Thanks for having me, Emily.
Good. Having a good summer so far?
It is getting a little bit of golf in. Two young boys keep me busy.
How old are the boys now?
6 and 8. So,
Are they as active as you would have been at that age?
the older one loves sport.
Yeah.
The younger one's more into building cubbies and bouncing on the trampoline. So I've been doing that.
Nice. Have you got the oldest one into basketball?
No, rugby league.
Nice.
He's very sensory, so he needs a tackling. So he's loving that. Whatever makes him happy, really. But eventually, maybe he'll find basketball. So
That's good. We had our team day on Tuesday and all played pickleball.
oh yeah, nice.
Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
So much fun. It's a real leveler because everyone can do it.
Yeah. I haven't played it yet, but it's growing.
It's good. It's good. We all got super competitive, as you can imagine. It's a proper competition. All right. So I just noticed it's 11:31. So we will kick off now. So first up, let's do this. Stand up.
Okay.
How tall? And I've got my heels on. Pro basketballer is. People can't even see, but look, that's crazy.
I'm one of the short ones too.
Really? How
Yes.
tall?
6'4".
Wow. All right. There you go. There you go. Yeah, excellent. All right. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Emily Wilson. I run FutureYou, where I set up the business 9 years ago. We are a full service talent management business, which means executive search, specialist recruitment, interim solutions, and talent advisory. When we set the business up, we did so with the sole purpose, the power to connect, which means we proactively make meaningful introductions to enable personal and business growth. So aligned to that purpose, at regular points throughout the year, when we meet someone interesting who I believe has got lots of value to add, we offer them the idea of doing an event with us like this one today for a webinar to add value to our business community, to offer a chance to learn and develop and take away some action points. So this morning, I'm delighted to have Ben Mashton with us here. So Ben is 7 years international basketball player and is currently the CEO of City of Sydney Basketball Association. So thank you, Ben, for giving us your time. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you. I feel honoured after that intro. So yeah, I played a little bit more than 7 years old.
Okay.
I was in college before 2006, 2010, then played over a decade, both in the NBL and overseas in Europe. So I was very fortunate to go.
Fantastic, thank you. So we have half an hour together this morning. Any quick Q&A you can put in the chat box, and I've also got some questions here that people have emailed through beforehand, so we'll just run through. So my first question to you is, can you call out the biggest difference between being in a professional sporting team and being in a business team?
Yeah, I think a professional sporting team's extremely cutthroat. The City Sydney Basketball Association's a smaller team, but being a professional basketball, especially in import in Europe, 1 or 2 bad games and you're on the first flight back to Australia. So I think that is the high pressure situations is extremely difficult to be a part of at times. And I think in a business setting, although it is still hard, high pressure situations, I think that a little bit more relaxed on the day to day, and it's not all encompassing as being in a professional sports team.
Okay, all right, fantastic. So we're here to talk about things that you have learned and developed in that professional sporting career and what you can apply to business. So with that, when you're in the sporting team and you put someone on the bench, how much of a chance are they given to grow, develop, step up versus that's it, they're on the bench?
Yeah, well, it's very interesting because it depends on the player's mindset, first and foremost, the culture they're in within the team environment, the organisation's environment, and also the coaching staff. So I'll share an experience when I was a rookie for the Sydney Kings. So there was 11 players signed because there was an injury. And I played the first 4 games, was starting to find my feet in the NBL and then got dropped for the player that came back from the injury replacement of the injury waiver. And if anyone here knows basketball, you don't get dropped. Like you're still rostered player and you might sit on the end of the bench, but you're still part of the team. I was completely out. I was shattered. in tears. I'd only played 4 professional games and I thought my career was over before it even began. So for me, went home in tears, but looked in the mirror and said, look, I have to, at the end of this season, look in the mirror and say, I've given it everything I have. And if it didn't work out, it didn't work out. It wasn't meant to be. And I was able to work my way back into the team and ended up winning the NBL Rookie of the Year for the entire league that year. So I think, you know, if you do get benched or dropped, you can go either 2 ways. You can go into the self-pity mode and, you know, that's it, I'm done. Or you can really fight tooth and nail and, you know, at the end of it, see where you end up. I'm not saying just because you do fight tooth and nail, it's going to work out and it's still going to be rosy like this situation. But you definitely give yourself the best chance. And at the end of whatever you do, my motto is always like, if you give me your best chance, then you can live with the results.
Yeah, such a good lesson, such a good lesson. Do you think that people are born with self-drive, given you've got mentality, or do you think it can be taught?
I think a bit of both.
Yeah.
I think there are people that really just have it in them.
Yes.
You know, when I was younger, I never made any teams. I was a late developer, but I always wanted to keep trying out and try my best, and I was highly self-motivated. I think a bit of it's to do with your upbringing.
Yes.
My parents were, you know, there was no self-pity. It's like, just work harder, get it done, if that's what you want to do. So I think that helps, the environment you're brought up in. But I've also seen the other way where players not very motivated, but really talented, and they needed someone to really take them under their wing. And, you know, it might have just been someone that they felt really cared about them.
Yes.
And then I've seen them blossom, you know. So
That's interesting around, that's the role of the coach?
Yeah, actually, it can be a coach, it can be a mentor. A lot of times I've seen it as another player.
Okay.
So I might be a veteran player that's been through a lot of experience.
Yeah, excellent. Just identifying what the is it always mentally, or is it a skill thing, or they're so talented they've got the technical ability?
Yeah, I think in professional sports, everyone's talented to be able to get to that level. But once you get to a certain level, it's very much about mindset. You know, and who can just get that 1, 2, 3% extra that's really going to come out on top.
Can I ask you your different mindset between when you were trying to get in versus when you were in and at the top?
Yeah.
How the differences, you know, in your mindset would have occurred?
Yeah, well, I tried to really be process driven. So, like, for example, if I had 30 points and made the game winning field goal to win the game, I would have the exact same routine the next day than if I went 0 for 10, had a stinker and we lost by 20. So I really tried to stay even keel, very hard to do, and that's, I would ride the emotional roller coaster quite often. But yeah, I really just tried to stay with the process and not think about the bigger picture too much. One way I was able to do that was set a lot of micro goals. So I'd have 3 sets of goals: micro, which is like game or week, and then short term and long term, so long term to season. So I really felt like this helped my mindset to be able to be successful throughout, you know, a season, for example.
Yeah, and I even noticed, you know, in business, the people who are consistent and disciplined, you don't know if they're having a good day or a bad day, but they do the same actions and the same quality approach are the ones who end up outperforming. Yeah,
exactly. And I think as a high, like if you want to be a high performer, you really need to, you know, do the process to be able to get there day in, day out. Otherwise, you know, it does become quite an emotional journey, especially with professional sport. I see some people really riding the waves, and it's easy to do. You know, you're a hero when you play well, and then, you know, you're getting absolutely polished on Twitter when you're not. So I think, you know, those high performers that are able to stay even keeled or process driven, like I know a lot of great business leaders are, they're very successful over a longer period.
That's it. Okay. But what about in a business leadership position? Obviously, you've got high levels of motivation, high levels of discipline. How do you encourage and instill discipline and motivation in people?
Yeah, in others, it's a very good question. I think first and foremost, it's really building relationships.
Yes.
Really helps. So open communication. Once you build relationships, you can really have that constructive feedback. I was always like to lead by example as well. I think that really helped others. But I also think once you build a relationship, you can really see what makes others tick as well.
Yes.
You know, some people might be going through horrific things in their personal life that you need to give them a bit more space or help them with. Others, you know, need some more kind of intrinsic motivations that you can kind of help them with. So I think it really just depends on the type of individuals, but building a relationship and having that real open communication, that's like a relationship building trust is really helpful to figuring out what motivates them.
Motivates them as an individual.
Yeah.
And what about, so in your professional sporting career, everyone's an A player at that point when they're together. What about in business wanting an A team versus developing people to be an A team? Like, what are the criteria that actually qualifies someone to be an A player for you?
Yeah, I think that the best thing, or the best teams that I've played on, and also like adapting this to the business well, was really role clarity. Role clarity, so openly communicating about the role clarity just really helps people align with whatever strategic, you know, direction you're going in. Everyone knows their place in the organisation, how they can succeed, why you're doing it, how they're helping. I think is really powerful, and it helps build that trust. Like a sport analogy with basketball, so everyone's trying to go out and score 25 points. It's not going to work. You know, you need people to rebound, defend, set screens, and everyone plays their role. And if everyone's able to buy in, you know, you have a really high performing team. So I think the same in business, whatever role it is. I find that probably the most difficult part is like onboarding someone new, and it kind of changes up that equilibrium where everyone's, you know, in their own nice space. And now all of a sudden someone else comes in and probably wants to prove themselves as well. It was the same thing with sport. So it's like really getting clear again on roles and responsibilities and the shared values. And I think that's where you see players that potentially in another system or another organisation or another team were mediocre, and now you see them really fantastic, and it's all the time in sport. If someone changes or the coach changes, you see that player really blossom.
Fantastic. So looking at it, even from a recruitment perspective, there's skills, experience, values, and then motivational attitude. Do you put, I suppose it depends on the position, but do you put as much weighting on all of those factors, or more weighting on one versus the other?
It's a great question. I definitely think the values first and foremost. Like if I'm hiring anyone in our organisation, values comes first and foremost. Like if they are the most skilled person, so much expertise, but their values don't align with the organisations, I just don't think it's going to fit. So I think that one first and foremost, you really want someone who's highly motivated. I think it just helps bring the vibes the day to day, and they're always willing to step in and help out or take on new challenges and new projects. So I find that's a really valuable attribute. Expertise is always fantastic, and I think the skills. For certain roles, absolutely you need specific skills, but I think skills is probably the one you can teach more. Obviously, in a basketball sense, they need to have a certain skill set to be able to perform. But I think in business, you know, you can teach someone, say it's medical sales and they're a great salesperson, no medical background, you can teach them, you know, about medical side.
Okay. It's interesting because I think, you know, skills development, people go into work to be in the right culture so they feel comfortable to develop, is a great opportunity for people. But obviously, if they've got to perform at a certain level, they've got to have the right level of experience and mindset to step up as well, don't they? It's complicated. It's actually really complicated.
And it's hard to get it all right. I don't think you're right. And that's why I feel like the growth mindset in sport and in business there's a lot of parallels there.
Yes.
Because you always need to be sport. You're consistently trying to get better.
Yes.
Like you can never stay the same. Even the best players, they stay status quo. Guys will come up or girls will overtake them.
Yes.
So in business as well, I think you're always trying to improve and get a little bit more of an edge each year, and whether that's really taking a course or listening to podcasts or audio books, but really upskilling yourself, and also encouraging that within the culture of the organisation.
Growth from learning.
Yeah.
What do you think has been your greatest lesson that you learned the hard way, or maybe when not in sport, just when you're winning but losing?
Yeah, well, I think a big aha moment for me was around mental toughness. I always felt like I was pretty mentally tough, but I don't think I had the self-awareness or emotional control needed to really take it to the next level in my sporting career. And it was a moment in Melbourne. I was having a decent season. I felt like the other team was quite rough, and happens in sport. I went for a hard layup. Felt like I got fouled. Referee didn't call it. And I landed on a chair where the cameraman sits, and I had dislocated my shoulder about 6 weeks before, and I was kind of managing it through the season. And I hurt my shoulder. But anyway, I was so infuriated that I threw the chair off me onto the court, and it hit the referee in the leg. So as you can imagine, it looked horrendous. It was the first and only time I've been trending on Twitter, and the hashtag was Chairgate. And it was really embarrassing moment. And if you ask my parents now, it'd still be the chair shouldn't have been there. You did nothing wrong. But for everyone else, and myself included, it was a real moment where I had let myself down in the teammates. And I felt like if I don't get work on this emotional control, that I'm never going to reach my peak performance. So what I did through that is I started to research other players or athletes that had anger issues in a certain way. And one was Andre Agassi, super fiery. So I read his book Open, resonated with me. I loved it, and he turned into one of the nicest guys on the circuit. While working through that, I worked on breathing. Was a big one for me, visualization. But when I used to get so worked up, I had like a proper breathing technique that I'd go through. It really helped. And then it was more, probably sounds easy, but just being conscious of my mental state as well. Like knowing when I was starting to get, to red line, be like, okay, I need to take a step back. And so even though it was a really hard, embarrassing moment in my sporting career, people still send it to me on YouTube. So thanks for that. But it was a necessary moment.
Well done you for sharing that, and also having the self-reflection and the growth mindset to say, how can I get better in that instance? Because lots of people can't self-reflect, can they?
No.
They get stuck in that because of that. It's brilliant.
It is difficult, and I'm lucky my wife gives me the hard trust too. So she'll tell me straight up, which I think everyone in their life needs someone to give it to them straight. As hard as it is to hear. It sucks hearing it in the moment, but then, once you walk away,
and it's so nuanced, isn't it, between passion versus needing to be calm at the right time. So if you're a really passionate, motivated person who cares, like in the moments where you need to be calm, making that switch, changing gears.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think all of the experiences help build us into, who we are. And also, I'm a firm believer in, like, you experience something that something else great will come out of it if you take it, the right way and work on the thing. So when I was playing in Europe, we're playing in front of 15,000 fans with flares, and they would heat up the coins and throw them and things like that. It was, for me, I was in a good enough emotional state that I had worked on everything previously that it didn't, I could shut it out. I was completely single-minded and focused on the job at hand and what I had to do, and I was able to play well with it.
Okay, so 2 questions for business owners, MDs or CEOs. When you're at that point, you're fully accountable.
Yes.
High pressure, high stress, nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
It's you. How to cope with the pressure, the competition, not wanting that person to succeed.
Yep.
You wanting to deliver better results and different results and be more innovative.
Yeah, it's a super tricky one. I think probably one of the best things I got out of sport, besides all the other transferable skills, is you train in a really high pressure situation every day, and it is your life. For example, every drill you do is in a pressure situation. The coach continuously puts you into it. So I think I already have a sense of being able to perform without overthinking it. Yeah. So if someone else comes to me with an issue, it's just not that difficult to kind of work out. I think sometimes that's a bit of a curse because I was a very quick problem solver. Like if someone comes with a problem, here's a solution. Yes. Instead, I don't think that's being a good leader. You really need to help, first of all, listen and then take them on the journey for them to be able to come up with a solution. Yeah, even if you had it in mind straight away. So a bit of a sidetrack. But I think for me, performing in a high pressure situation, I got all of my confidence out of preparation. Yes. So I really wanted to be super prepared for everything. To the point, if I felt like I had a day off of not shooting a basketball, I'd lose my shooting. I had to be prepared. So that really helped me in high pressure situations. And same in the business world. So I went to a sponsorship meeting and wanted to be really prepared and dug up, this information on this guy that I was meeting. From back when he went and did a short course at Harvard, and he said to me, "Wow, that is so much. You're so well prepared. Yes. You wouldn't believe how many people just come in and kind of wing it and hope for a result." Yeah. So I've been kind of taking, your destiny into your own hands in a way of being as prepared as you can. But I also think having some techniques that are going to help you. So sometimes you can't prepare, something gets sprung on you. Yeah. I think what we discussed before, breathing has really helped me. Yeah. Coach you on that, or you just? I actually just ran. So I do that each morning as part of my routine. But there's so much resources out there now, YouTube and things like that. So even where you take a huge deep breath in and then one more. People used to always say to me, just breathe. Yeah. So many people have said that. So and it sounds so simple. I know. Say the clients. Yeah. So if I have a really intense meeting, something tragic's happened or it's a crisis, I'll take myself off, breathe. Yeah. I might even say I need to go to the bathroom for a second. And then I just feel like then you can have some more mental clarity. Yes. And attack the high pressure moment with vigor and not go in already overwhelmed and potentially making the high pressure situation even more high pressure. Yes. I was even getting to the point where sometimes when I was public speaking, I would almost, it was like an anxiety type where you kind of have a mental blank, mouth gets right. So one was way too much coffee beforehand, so cut that down. But then just doing that breathing before. Now I'm doesn't happen as much. Yeah. And I just feel much more in my present. Present and in control. Yeah. Yeah, powerful in itself. Yes. Yeah. And what about aspiring leaders? So you mentioned about just giving it your absolute best effort in the day, what you're doing, planning what you want to do, and having the self-discipline to do it. Because I even say to my boys, I don't want to get up at 5:30, but I choose to because I love that start of the day when nothing's gone wrong, exercising, no one's disturbing, and then I can actually only fit in what I need to fit in by getting up. That's my choice, but it isn't easier. No. I just do it because I'm disciplined, and then the rest of the, how for aspiring leaders who have got those traits and discipline and constructive behaviours.
What about things that they should do to develop themselves as leaders? Because individual performance versus being a leader of multiple people is totally different.
Yeah, totally. And you bring up a point about just effort. Like, I think as long as you're putting in like sustained effort to everything you do, I think good things happen. We preach that to all the kids at Sydney College. It's like, we don't care if you win, lose, or draw.
Yes.
As long as you're a good teammate and you put in maximum effort, we're happy with everything you do. So I think that's a big one. But for aspiring leaders, I think for me, it's always about continuing to challenge yourself. So I really thrive on new challenges. So even as like the CEO of the Basketball Association, you could kind of get stuck in the day-to-day. But I really try and be a lot more strategic and think, how can we diversify our revenue streams or streamline our processes and things like that, or how can we get the staff to, be more productive, for example. So for me, it's a lot about continuous learning for myself. I have no reservations that I've got heaps to learn. Sporting background gave me such a good foundation, but I haven't been working for that long. So I try and educate myself with, doing my MBA, doing the director's course, the Australian Company Director's course, constantly doing little short courses on LinkedIn, for example. Like things like, how to close a sales pitch. Things like little things. There's so many resources out there now for aspiring leaders. Like, I know that, an MBA is really important to get a piece of paper. You could probably do one just through the resources that are out there now. So I think there's no real excuse for whatever kind of issues or things that you're finding hard or somewhere where you want to be. Like, I've been constantly watching videos on leaders giving speeches, and I watched one the other day about someone giving a speech at the ASX conference, things like that, like how do they present themselves.
But the biggest difference, I think, as well, is that you take action.
There's
a lot of people who've got the thirst for knowledge, the thirst for learning, and then take zero action, or not taking off zero, but little action. But then carving out the time in the week to go, actually, I'm get qualified in it. Certified in that, or I'm actually trying to prove that. And then measure it too.
Totally. And I think sport teaches you that. Like, you have the scout, the game plan, but you have to execute. I want to get better at that. I have to be able to execute the plan. So, you can have all the best ideas or where you want to be, but if you're not executing, that's probably the biggest, one of the biggest takeaways from sport is if you can execute, you're really valuable in business.
Fantastic. Okay, so what we've heard, I'm just conscious of the time, we've set back, self-reflect, own it, look at how you can improve by people who've had that experience themselves, but can actually coach you through it. The continuation of wanting to learn and improve. The importance of relationships to build trust. The importance of, self-drive, motivation, discipline. If you haven't actually got that, how can those, any advice for people to take the first step to change their mindset if they don't have this current mindset?
I think a big one that you don't realise you're in when you're playing professional sport is the routines and the habits that you develop. So I think that's why a lot of athletes struggle when they finish their sporting careers, because it's like, oh my God, I've been in this bubble for 10 to 15 years, and now there's this whole world out there. I was probably lucky because I did an internship with QBE and studied and things, so I was always talking to different people, and I enjoyed that. So it was less of a culture shock. But for people, I think just really setting up some routines and habits. So I might just start with a morning routine. So I'll wake up, try and set the alarm early, and I'll go for a walk or a run, cold shower, breathe, and then get into the day. So that's already building, that mental toughness and resilience. It's a good start to the day. But, if you want to learn a new skill, Then it's like I come and carve out 30 minutes when I wake up just to watch. You can chuck into ChatGPT now, make me an expert in, sales and formulate a 30-day plan. Yeah. And all of a sudden you've got everything there.
I used to do it.
So things like that.
Yes.
Like use the resources that are there, but build those habits.
Yes.
And those routines, so it just becomes second nature.
Yeah.
And you'll find yourself, on the trajectory you want to be on. And any kind of skill you want to learn, it's that.
Yeah, and what I've heard is every person on the team has an absolutely key part, doesn't matter what their position. If they're in the right culture that enables the environment to learn, develop, contribute, play to their skills and strengths, then it's a winning team.
Exactly, and I like to say, you're only as strong as your weakest link.
Yes.
So we're a smaller organisation, so we wear many hats and everyone works really collaboratively. But even in a massive organisation, you still have those sub-teams within it. So you might have 10 people that you work really closely with. If someone or a couple of people are aligned with, the direction and the values of the organisation, can really bring down the whole team.
Yeah. How fast are you to make decisions that you've given that person everything and then
Yeah, so
there's always a process.
Yeah, there is a process. It's a tricky one, but we're governed by a board of 7 directors. And when I first, we had a tricky situation with an employee, I really managed and tried to make it work. And some of the other directors and CEOs and businesses were like, once it starts to go downhill, it's better to just cut the ties.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot from that experience. I always try and give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Coach them through it. But once you kind of reach that point where you're like, it's not going to work, I think it's better to just cut it for both parties.
Yeah.
They'll be happier in the new role and the organisation.
What do you think is the hardest? I know we're going over now. I just want to hear it. With attracting the right people for the right cultural fit, the right motivation, skills, experience, and values, versus keeping them continuing at a high performance level, which is the harder to do, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's hard to keep people at a certain level.
Yes.
Consistently.
Yes.
And we're all human. Yeah. So as an example for me, when I never took recovery that serious when I was younger because my body couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
And I always, get to practice 3 hours earlier. I had to get so much work and it was all like building blocks. But as I got older, I really needed to take recovery more serious. And then I found I was actually more effective. Yeah. I was going into a game with fresh legs and a newfound motivation. So I think when you're building a real high performance culture, you have to be conscious that you don't have that burnout. You take recovery serious. And it might just be, we try and celebrate all the wins along the way, even if it's not that big. Hey, we're having a team lunch today because this colleague, passed their exam, or, we're record numbers of teams in the comp, So I think it's just important. Yeah. Because otherwise people just feel like they're on that wheel and they're grinding all of a sudden. Yeah. It's
not just being involved, it's the steps along the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think business, it's the people having time. We're always on.
Yes.
Certainly, and then the downside of that is you've got to have some time now to completely refresh your ideas, innovation, energy levels.
Yeah, and I always tell the team, like, do stuff that you can. Yeah. Like, one of our colleagues found Muay Thai, loves it. I like playing golf, it takes too long, so it's difficult. But I love spending time with the family. Yeah. And I was always on the phone and always on, and now I've set like really clear boundaries. When I get home, I'm off the phone, and when your kids run up to you, when you get home, it's like the best feeling in the world. But if you're on the phone, just hang on. And I didn't realise like the impact it was also having on my mental health and also theirs.
That's why I work with my
Yeah.
For a huge amount of time.
Yeah.
Got to be completely present.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually find working from home, because there is still during that time, I'm so much more productive.
Yes, yeah,
Because,
focus on those jobs.
and you know, I have a lot of people always come in and like to be chatting and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So I do find like a good balance with
yes, nice.
that helps, but I totally get your point.
Yeah.
Like when you're home, family's there, it's like this is family time.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. Okay, thank you so much, Ben. Anything else you'd like to share or add?
No, I think we covered it.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's a
Really,
good chat.
really good. Thank you so much. If anyone would like to reach out to Ben, we can share his details. So send a message or reach out to him on LinkedIn. I really appreciate you joining this morning. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. See you.